ZDNet writer Stephanie Condon producing a piece for us titled, in part, Fitbit for Cows. It's definitely a catchy title, Stephanie, and when we think about livestock, we don't usually think about technology, but it sounds like the two are finally coming together.
That's right. And, the livestock industry has been pretty far behind when we're in terms of technology. And so they're finally catching up. So far, livestock operations basically rely on cowboys to simply get on a horse and ride around all day long and visually inspect their cattle for sick animals. And, if that's a large operation, the cowboys only have a few seconds per animal to make that determination. So they're effectively using the same method for inspecting their livestock and keeping them healthy as they were about 100 years ago.
Yeah, and that's what I thought was interesting, Stephanie. You say in the article, pen and paper, that's what they've largely been relying on up till now. And so now they have a new IoT devices. Talk about those, how they'll actually track the animals.
Well, I talked with this company, Quantified AG. They're a Nebraska-based startup. They have developed a sensor, which they call a Fitbit for cows, effectively. It monitors the temperature, activity patterns of the animal, and at the end of the day, it helps determine if they're healthy or sick. So it tracks that information, sends it to a base station on the ranch, and then it sends it back to the cloud. And once it's in the cloud, it's combined with a bunch of other information that includes information about the cattle that the ranchers put in, such as their age and breed. It also includes third-party information like the weather or other biometric data that could be collected with third-party devices like digital stethoscopes or thermometers. And then they run all that information through some machine learning and algorithms, and from there determine whether it's healthy or sick.
Yeah, and so expand a little bit, you touched on that about their health. Expand a little bit on the why they need to keep track of, I'm assuming, really large amounts of animals here.
Well, like I said, they're literally rounding up cattle every day to just look at them and determine if they're sick. And it's a lengthy, difficult process, but an important one because apparently about 1 in 5 cattle end up getting sick on a ranch or a feedlot. And you can imagine for a business having 20% of your stock taken out like that can make a real dent in the business. So it's really important for them. And, another interesting way that the sensors can help and play a critical role is just easing that process because cows, when they get sick, apparently become very defensive. They don't like people getting near them. So they make it difficult sometimes for the cowboys to even make that determination, and this can be pretty helpful.
Yeah, most definitely. And Stephanie, you talked about some of the trends or the things that are driving this change in the industry.
Yeah, well, of course, you can imagine, since we've been talking about how old-fashioned the industry is right now, that they could make a lot of gains in efficiency by saving, in terms of time and manpower saved. But there's also a lot of consumer trends that are playing a role here. People care a lot more these days about how their meat is sourced. They want to know that restaurants and grocery stores are getting meat that's been well taken care of in an ethically sound manner with high health standards. There's a big push right now to sell meat that hasn't been treated with antibiotics. And large corporations like McDonald's are listening to consumers and demanding that their suppliers take steps to ensure their animals are well taken care of. So embracing technology like this can really help them provide documentation to their customers to prove they're meeting the high standards that consumers have now. And actually another trend just has to do with the farmers themselves. Believe it or not, there's not a lot of kids growing up these days who want to be cowboys anymore. So the industry, Quantified AG says, is facing a labor shortage. So again, automating and bringing in technology to take care of some of those steps can help a lot there.
Yeah, Stephanie, and we did a big special feature on the future of foods and how much agriculture in general, farming, as you mentioned, with the kids not growing up as much doing it, how much impact technology is having. So it's interesting to see now with the livestock, specifically impacted as well. So we thank you for this interesting article, to say the least. You can check that out and much more on IoT devices, all on ZDNet.